Elias Dorn ran through the bustling corridors of New Arcadia Spaceport, his boots clanging on the metal floor. The last transport ship to Vera Prime was about to leave, and he could not afford to miss it. Sweat dripped from his forehead, and his heart raced with every step. Months of supply runs, long hours, and little rest had left him exhausted, but he refused to give up. He pushed past tired travelers and merchants, clutching his datapad tightly. The screens above displayed ships leaving and arriving at different gates. His gate number flashed in bright green, G22. Elias hurried there only to find the gate empty. Confused, he checked his pad again. The information seemed correct. "Maybe they moved it at the last minute," he muttered, glancing around. In the distance, a massive ship floated, larger than most transports he had ever seen. Its metal hull shimmered in the sunlight, and strange lights pulsed along its edges. Elias assumed it must be his ship. Without thinking twice, he ran toward it. The boarding ramp extended as he approached. He stepped onto the ship, his boots making soft echoes in the vast corridor. At first, the interior seemed quiet, almost too quiet. The walls were smooth, polished, and alive with a faint glow. Strange symbols pulsed gently, casting shifting patterns across the floor. The air smelled different, faintly metallic and sweet, and he felt a chill run down his spine. "This is big," Elias whispered to himself. He looked for other crew members but saw no one. Only the hum of machines filled the silence. He walked further, his curiosity growing, despite a creeping sense of unease. The corridors seemed endless, stretching farther than any human ship he had ever been on. Suddenly, a soft sound echoed from the shadows. Elias froze. At first, it was barely audible, a whisper, like wind over water. Then more voices joined, soft, melodic, and strangely hypnotic. A male. After 500 years, Elias spun around, but no one was there. His heart pounded. He moved cautiously, touching the walls, trying to find some hint of a human crew. But all he found were strange panels glowing faintly, unresponsive to his touch. From the darkness, figures began to emerge. At first, he thought they were shadows, but as they stepped closer, he saw their shapes, tall, elegant, and unlike any human being. Their skin shimmered like liquid silver, and their eyes glowed with a golden light. They moved silently, almost floating above the floor. Elias's throat tightened. Who are you?" he asked, though the words sounded weak even to him. The beings stopped a few meters away, their eyes fixed on him, shining brightly, and their voices echoed in his mind rather than through the air. "A male. A specimen. Finally awake," they whispered in unison. Panic surged. Elias took a step back, trying to understand what was happening. This was not a transport ship. It was something else, something alive, something ancient. The architecture, the lights, the strange energy in the air, it all spoke of a civilization far older than humanity. Before he could react, a soft field of light enveloped him, restraining his movement. Elias struggled but could not break free. The energy was unlike any technology he had seen. It did not hurt, but it held him firmly, preventing him from moving more than a few inches. One of the beings stepped closer, its golden eyes fixed on him. It spoke again, and this time he could hear the words clearly, though they still echoed strangely in his mind. "Do not fear. You are not in danger yet, but you are the first of your kind we have seen in centuries." Elias swallowed hard. "Centuries? What? What are you?" "We are the Silari," the being replied. "We have waited for 500 cycles to witness a being like you, a species strong, clever, and rare." The words made little sense, but something in his instincts told him that he needed to stay calm. Panicking would not help. He took a deep breath and tried to analyze the situation. He was a human, yes, but he was also a skilled explorer. He had faced hostile environments, malfunctioning machinery, and dangerous wildlife. He could handle this if he was clever. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice steadier now. The Scifi seemed to study him. Their eyes glowed brighter, and they circled him slowly. "Not what we want, but what we have waited to understand. Your species, your kind, your courage. We have observed life forms across galaxies, but never one like you." Elias realized they were not here to harm him physically. That was a relief, but only a little. These beings were clearly powerful, and their motives were unknown. He decided to use what humans had in their favor: curiosity and adaptability. He remembered the small multi-tool in his pocket and subtly activated it. The tool projected a soft holographic display in front of him, showing star maps and data collected from his previous expeditions. "I've explored systems no one else has charted. I've survived storms and cosmic radiation, built shelters on planets where no life could survive. Maybe you could learn something from me too," he said, hoping to appeal to their curiosity. The Scifi paused. They tilted their heads, glowing eyes examining him, clearly intrigued. For the first time, one of them stepped closer, extending a hand, not to touch, but to scan. Images of human cities, starships, and survival tactics flashed before Elias in a strange psychic display. "You are adaptable," one whispered. "Your mind, resilient. You may survive where others would fail. Your species has potential beyond observation." Elias's confidence grew slightly. He realized that humans were extraordinary to these beings, and that might be his leverage. "I can help you," he said. "I can show you how humans survive, how we think, how we explore. I'm not a specimen, I'm a teacher, if you will." The Scifi paused, and their glowing eyes dimmed slightly. For a long moment, the silence stretched. Then one spoke. "Perhaps. We underestimated the courage of your kind. We will see." The restraints around Elias faded, though the Scifi still surrounded him, moving as a group, their eyes never leaving his. The corridors, once eerily empty, now seemed to come alive with subtle light and energy, as though the ship itself was aware of their presence. Elias realized something important. This was not just a ship. It was a living archive, a vessel designed to observe, preserve, and study life forms, and he, by stepping onto it, had become part of its experiment. He needed to stay sharp. If he made the wrong move, he could be trapped here indefinitely, a human curiosity for these ancient beings. Yet a part of him felt excitement. Here was an opportunity to understand a species older than any human history, and perhaps even to show the Scifi what humanity was capable of. The Scifi led him deeper into the ship, through halls that twisted impossibly, reflecting starlight that seemed trapped inside the walls. Elias could see massive chambers ahead, filled with suspended pods and glowing life forms from distant worlds. Plants that shone like lanterns, creatures with translucent skin, and even small sentient animals floated in their containment fields. 500 years of waiting, and finally a mind like yours, one of the Scifi said softly, almost in awe. "You will show us what it means to be alive in the universe again." Elias swallowed hard. The weight of their words sank in. He had boarded the wrong ship, but perhaps it was the right adventure for someone like him. Somewhere in the depths of fear, he felt a spark of hope. Humans were survivors, explorers, and creators. Maybe they were about to prove it to beings who had forgotten what courage looked like. As the Scifi guided him further, Elias knew one thing for certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The ship was no ordinary transport, and the journey he had stumbled into was unlike anything he had ever imagined. The universe had just opened its doors, and humanity had a chance to step inside and show the galaxy what it truly meant to survive, adapt, and thrive. He boarded the wrong ship. Part 2, The Captured and the Curious. The Scifi led Elias through the vast corridors of the ancient ship. The walls seemed alive, glowing faintly with a rhythm that matched the pulse of the ship itself. Elias noticed that no corridor looked the same twice. The layout twisted and turned as if it adapted to those walking inside it. He felt a strange mix of fear and fascination. "You will see many things," one of the Scifi said, its voice echoing in his mind. "Things your species has never imagined, but first, you must understand why you are here." Elias nodded, though he was unsure how to respond. I want to understand," he said carefully. "I am a human explorer. I study. I survive. I learn. I can learn from you if you teach me." The Scifi paused, as if considering. Their glowing eyes flickered. "We observe. We collect. We preserve. Life forms, species, minds like yours. They are rare. Your kind, it has survived against impossible odds. You adapt. You thrive. We wish to understand this." Elias realized something important. These beings were not merely hunters. They were collectors of knowledge, and humans, his species, were a kind of living mystery to them. They entered a massive chamber that stretched wider than any hall Elias had ever seen. Pods floated in midair, each containing a life form from distant worlds. Some looked like glowing plants, others like floating jellyfish. There were animals with translucent skin, wings that shimmered like glass, and creatures that Elias could not even begin to name. 500 cycles, one Scifi said softly. 500 years, we have waited for a mind like yours to awaken. You are the first in half a millennium. You will help us understand life again." Elias felt a shiver of awe. The ship had preserved beings from countless worlds, but these creatures were alive. The Scifi didn't just observe. They cared for these life forms in ways Elias could barely comprehend. Why me?" Elias asked. "I'm just a human. Not special, just ordinary." The Scifi regarded him silently. Then one spoke. "Your kind survives when others fail. Your mind is flexible. You create solutions in ways we cannot predict. You are exceptional, not because of strength, but because of your spirit." Elias felt a swell of pride, but also unease. He realized that, though they did not intend to harm him, the Scifi held all the power. If he misstepped, he could become trapped on this ship forever. Yet he also knew something crucial. Humans had a unique advantage. Their curiosity and creativity could earn trust, where caution alone could not. One of the Scifi extended a slender hand toward him. A holographic display appeared between them, showing the distant worlds the Scifi had visited. Planets with harsh climates, moons with frozen oceans, deserts that stretched endlessly. Images of intelligent and primitive life, forms alike, floated in the air. "These worlds, we have observed them for centuries," the Scifi said. "But we have not witnessed a species capable of adaptation like yours." Elias looked at the display. He saw forests that survived constant storms, creatures that lived in total darkness, and oceans teeming with alien life. He realized that the Scifi were not just archivists. They were students of life, waiting for someone to teach them about resilience and creativity. "I can teach you," Elias said. "Humans survive because we think, we improvise, we work together. We take risks, yes, but we also learn from every failure. That is why we endure." The Scifi seemed to consider this. Their glowing eyes narrowed slightly, as if trying to measure the truth of his words. Then one said, almost in a whisper, "Perhaps you are the teacher we have sought. Perhaps your mind can show us something new." Elias realized he had a choice. He could remain passive and hope they did not see him as a threat, or he could prove his value. He chose the latter. He took a deep breath and examined the pods around him. Each one contained delicate life forms, yet each was maintained perfectly as though the ship itself nurtured them. Using his multi-tool, he activated a small scanner and began analyzing the energy flows sustaining the pods. The Scifi observed silently, their expressions unreadable. "Your curiosity is unusual," one said finally. "Most life forms are content to survive. You seek understanding." Elias smiled slightly, despite the fear. "Understanding is survival," he said. "If you know how life works, you can protect it. You can thrive in ways no one else can." For a moment, the Scifi were silent. Then, surprisingly, one stepped closer and mirrored his gesture, projecting a holographic display of Scifi anatomy and energy systems. Elias studied it, fascinated. Their biology was unlike anything humans had ever known, fluid, adaptable, almost like living light. "You learn quickly," the Scifi whispered. "Perhaps you are more than we imagined." Hours passed, though time felt different inside the ship. The corridors seemed endless, and the chambers shifted subtly, as if the ship itself responded to their presence. Elias realized that the Scifi were testing him, not just for intelligence, but for adaptability, courage, and observation skills. "Tomorrow," one said, "you will explore the outer decks. You will see worlds we have preserved. You will witness life beyond your species, and perhaps teach us in return." Elias nodded, exhausted but exhilarated. For the first time, he understood the scale of the ship. It was not just a vessel, it was a cosmic library, a guardian of life across galaxies. And he, by accident, had become part of its story. That night, he slept on a narrow platform designed to conform to his body. The Scifi did not need beds, yet the ship provided comfort. As he drifted into a light sleep, visions of distant worlds filled his mind. Worlds he had never seen, life forms he could barely imagine. He realized that his life had changed forever. In dreams, the Scifi whispered again, "A mind unlike any other, a courage long forgotten. Teach us." Elias awoke with a start, the ship humming softly around him. The golden eyes of the Scifi watched him from the shadows, patient and curious. He rose, stretching, and felt a growing sense of determination. He could learn from them, yes, but they could also learn from him. Humans had survived in deserts, jungles, frozen tundras, and starships. They had endured when others failed. Perhaps, he thought, they could endure here, in this ancient vessel, too. The morning light, though filtered through the glowing walls rather than a sun, revealed the outer decks. Elias followed the Scifi to a massive viewport that looked out across the void. Stars stretched endlessly, and distant nebulae glowed in shades of violet and blue. Below, frozen planets and swirling gas clouds passed silently. "You will see worlds," a Scifi said softly. "You will understand that life is far more than survival. It is adaptation, it is knowledge, it is courage." Elias stared at the infinite expanse of space, feeling a thrill he had not known since leaving New Arcadia. He realized that humans were small in the galaxy, yes, but small did not mean weak. His species survived because they acted boldly, learned quickly, and never gave up. Perhaps this ancient race, the Scifi, would come to understand this as well. Over the next hours, Elias explored the decks with the Scifi. He touched alien plant life, examined creatures that glowed in the dark, and marveled at technology that seemed to bend physics itself. Each step reinforced his belief. Humans were extraordinary in ways even advanced species might underestimate. The Scifi observed silently, their glowing eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and respect. For the first time in centuries, they seemed genuinely intrigued by a living being, not as a specimen, but as a mind capable of thought, creativity, and courage. As the day ended, Elias returned to his platform, exhausted but exhilarated. He realized he was no longer simply a human, lost on a wrong ship. He had become a bridge between human ingenuity and Scifi wisdom, and in that realization, he felt something extraordinary: hope. Hope that his species, small, fragile, and unpredictable, might one day leave its mark among the stars. Elias awoke to the soft hum of the ancient ship. The corridors glowed faintly, and the Scifi watched him from the shadows. Today would be different. He felt a strange mix of excitement and determination. He was no longer just a visitor. He was part of this living vessel's journey. The Scifi led him to the bridge, a vast chamber unlike any human starship control room. Holographic displays floated in mid-air, showing galaxies, star systems, and uncharted space. Elias stepped forward, examining the controls carefully. The Scifi watched silently, their golden eyes reflecting both curiosity and caution. "You will help us navigate the Eclipse Rift," one Scifi said. Its voice echoed directly in his mind. "It is dangerous, even for us. Many ships have been lost." Elias frowned. He had read about the Eclipse Rift in old human star charts. It was a region of space where gravitational waves, radiation storms, and spatial anomalies made travel nearly impossible. Even the most advanced human ships avoided it. "Why are we going there?" he asked. "To reach the outer worlds of preservation," the Scifi replied. "They hold life forms rare and ancient. If we do not arrive, centuries of observation will be lost." Elias realized the urgency. He also realized something else. The Scifi were not omnipotent. Despite their advanced technology, even they needed human ingenuity to navigate the rift safely. This was his chance to show the value of human thinking. He studied the star maps, analyzing the swirling energy patterns that marked dangerous zones. He noticed subtle anomalies, tiny shifts in gravitational fields that the Scifi had not accounted for. "These areas," Elias said, pointing to one region, "if we pass through at this angle, the energy waves will cancel each other out. We can use their momentum to push the ship forward, safely." The Scifi tilted their heads. One spoke softly. "Your calculations are novel. You see paths we do not. Perhaps humans are more resourceful than we assumed." Elias nodded. "Resourcefulness comes from necessity. Humans survive because we adapt. We think on our feet. If we combine your technology with human strategy, we can make it." The Scifi conferred silently, their glowing eyes flickering. Finally, one said, "Then we will follow your plan, human. Lead us." For the first time, Elias felt a surge of confidence. He was not a captive anymore, he was a guide. He issued instructions to the Scifi ship, adjusting energy shields and propulsion systems, combining his human intuition with their advanced technology. The ship responded, almost as if it trusted him. As they approached the rift, the space around them began to distort. Stars stretched and warped, and energy storms crackled with brilliant light. The ship shuddered, its ancient systems groaning against the gravitational forces. Elias held onto a railing, his mind focused on every calculation. "Hold steady," he said, more to himself than to anyone else. "We can do this." The Scifi watched silently, clearly impressed by his calm. They did not panic. Instead, they followed his directions with precision, adjusting energy flows, shields, and trajectory. Elias felt a strange pride. Here, in the middle of one of the most dangerous regions of space, Humans were making a difference. Suddenly, a massive gravitational wave hit the ship. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the vessel tilted dangerously. Elias shouted instructions, guiding the Solari and synchronizing their energy fields with the ship's core. Slowly, the ship stabilized, riding the wave instead of being crushed by it. The Solari murmured among themselves, their voices echoing like music. "You are clever. Your mind is fearless in the face of danger." Elias smiled faintly, though he was still tense. "Fear is natural. It helps us survive. What matters is what you do with it." Hours passed as they navigated through storm after storm, anomaly after anomaly. Elias learned to read the subtle cues of the ship, feeling its rhythms and energies. He began to anticipate the movements of the rift, predicting dangerous zones before the sensors even detected them. By the time they emerged from the Eclipse Rift, the Solari ship had suffered minor damage, but it was intact. The crew, if they could be called that, gathered around him. Their eyes glowed brighter than ever, filled with admiration and a hint of something unfamiliar: trust. "You have done what we feared impossible," one said softly. "You have guided us through death itself. Your species is remarkable." Elias realized the magnitude of what had just happened. The Solari had waited centuries for a mind capable of seeing beyond their limitations. Humans had survived on harsh planets, navigated dangerous space, and thrived where others would have perished. He had proved that human ingenuity could match, even surpass, their expectations. But there was no time for celebration. Ahead lay the outer worlds of preservation, uncharted systems filled with life forms that had never been studied by anyone outside the Solari. Some were fragile, some dangerous, all priceless. Elias knew the next challenge would be just as demanding as the rift. As they approached a strange, luminous planet, the Solari slowed the ship. Massive floating organisms circled above its surface, while plants glowed in rhythmic patterns across the land. In the distance, creatures moved with intelligence and purpose, their shapes and behaviors unlike anything Elias had seen. "These are the most delicate," one Solari said. "We must approach with care." Elias nodded. "Then we will do it slowly. We will observe, not interfere. But we can also learn. Every move we make will be a lesson, for them and for us." They deployed small, hovering probes to scan the surface. Elias directed the probes, analyzing energy flows, weather patterns, and life signals. The Solari followed his instructions, adjusting their containment fields to protect the most fragile species. Hours passed in meticulous work. Elias realized that cooperation was the key. His human instincts, observation, improvisation, and risk assessment, combined with the Solari's technology, created a synergy neither species had expected. One Solari turned to him, its voice soft and reverent. "You see the world in ways we do not. You combine courage with care. You are extraordinary." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. Humans were often underestimated by other species. They were fragile, yes, but also resilient, clever, and brave. He had just shown that to beings who had waited centuries to witness a mind like his. As night, or what passed for night on the ship, fell, Elias and the Solari gathered in the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly across the viewport, and the planet below glowed like a jewel. "You have earned our respect," one Solari said. "You are not merely a specimen. You are a guide, a teacher, a mind worthy of our trust." Elias nodded. "And you have taught me that even ancient beings, with knowledge beyond imagination, can learn. Humans can survive, yes, but we can also teach. We can inspire. That is what makes us different." The Solari seemed to consider this. Their glowing eyes softened. For centuries they had preserved life, observing quietly from afar. But in Elias, they had found something more than a specimen. They had found a mind capable of understanding and bridging the gap between species. Tomorrow, Elias knew, they would continue deeper into the outer worlds. More challenges would await. Unknown life forms, unpredictable environments, and perhaps dangers that even the Solari had not foreseen. But he felt ready. Humans had always faced the unknown and prevailed. Now, in the company of ancient beings, he could do the same on a cosmic scale. As he prepared for rest, Elias looked out at the stars once more. The journey that began with a simple mistake, boarding the wrong ship, had become the adventure of a lifetime. He had entered a world of ancient knowledge and alien wonder, and humans, through him, had proven that they could stand among the stars with courage, intelligence, and heart. The Solari watched him from the shadows, their whispers gentle and filled with awe. A male, a mind that will teach and inspire. Perhaps the galaxy is ready to remember life once more. Elias closed his eyes, ready to face whatever came next. The universe was vast, strange, and full of danger, but it was also full of opportunity, and he knew in the core of his being that human resilience and ingenuity could overcome anything. The Solari ship glided silently above the luminous planet of the outer worlds. Elias Dorn stood on the observation deck, watching the glowing forests and strange creatures moving below. The air, or what passed for air inside the deck, was cool and steady. Despite the calm, a tension thrummed through the ship. Ahead lay the final challenge, a massive collapsing star, a dying sun whose gravitational pull threatened to tear the ship apart. The Solari had never dared to approach it, fearing the immense energy and unpredictable forces surrounding it. Yet the star contained a rare energy matrix vital to preserving some of the oldest life forms in the universe. The mission was critical. Failure meant the loss of centuries of work. Elias studied the holographic display of the star. Streams of energy twisted and coiled around it, forming chaotic patterns. Sensors indicated fluctuations far beyond anything human or Solari technology had ever faced. He felt a thrill of fear, but also of determination. Humans survived because they faced challenges others avoided. He could not allow fear to dictate his actions. "We can approach, but the ship may be damaged," one Solari said. Its golden eyes reflected the energy of the star. "Many will not survive. Your calculations may guide us or doom us." Elias nodded. "Then we'll need to combine our strengths. Your technology, my instincts. Step by step, we'll make it." The Solari remained silent, but the intensity of their gaze showed trust. For the first time, Elias felt like more than a visitor. He was a partner, a guide, and perhaps a teacher. He began issuing instructions, adjusting the energy shields and propulsion systems in ways the Solari had not anticipated. Using his knowledge of gravitational forces, he calculated angles to harness the star's energy rather than resist it. "The waves of gravity can be used," Elias explained. "If we align the ship with these streams, the energy will push us instead of pulling us apart. But it will require constant adjustment and precise timing." The Solari mirrored his movements with the ship's controls, adapting to his rapid decisions. Elias felt a deep connection forming between human instinct and Solari technology. The ship seemed alive beneath their combined efforts, responding to each adjustment like a sentient being. As they neared the star, energy waves lashed out violently. Alarms blared, and the ship shook, threatening to break apart. Elias barked instructions. "Shields up! Divert power to stabilizers! Angle 20 degrees port!" The Solari followed instantly, their confidence in him growing. Elias realized that humans were not just adaptable, they were courageous under pressure, a quality the Solari had not fully appreciated until now. Suddenly, A massive gravitational surge hit the ship, throwing it off course. The hull groaned under the strain. Elias's heart raced, but he kept his mind focused. "Use the energy conduits! Channel the star's output through the stabilizers! Now!" The Scifi worked with precision, channeling the star's energy through the ship's core. Slowly, carefully, the vessel steadied. The light of the collapsing sun reflected in Elias's eyes, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. They had survived. A hush fell over the bridge. The Scifi, who had watched countless species fail, now regarded Elias with unspoken admiration. One whispered almost reverently, "Your mind, your courage, your species. Remarkable." Elias allowed himself a small smile. Humans survive by thinking, adapting, and facing the impossible. That's all. Hours later, the danger had passed, and the ship floated above the planet, unharmed. Elias and the Scifi surveyed the outer worlds below. Strange forests glowed in rhythmic patterns, rivers of energy flowed like liquid light, and creatures moved with intelligence and grace. Every life form seemed alive in ways humans could barely imagine. "You have saved more than the ship," one Scifi said softly. "You have saved life itself, the energy of the star, the preservation of these worlds. It is intact because of your mind." Elias felt a swell of pride. Humans were small in the universe, yes, but their ingenuity and courage could shape destinies far beyond their home worlds. The Scifi gathered around him, their golden eyes shining warmly. "We have waited 500 years for a mind like yours. You have proven that courage and intelligence are not bound by time. Perhaps humans are worthy of guidance and companionship." Elias realized the truth in their words. The Scifi had been observing life for centuries, yet they had never fully understood the spirit of survival, adaptability, and creativity. Humans were fragile in body, but their minds and spirits were resilient beyond measure. He looked out at the stars, feeling the vastness of the galaxy pressing in, yet also a strange sense of belonging. By chance, he had boarded the wrong ship, and now he was part of a story far greater than himself. "You have a choice, Elias," one Scifi said. "You may return to your home, or you may remain with us, exploring the stars, learning and teaching. The decision is yours." Elias considered the offer. Returning to New Arcadia would be safe, familiar, predictable. But this was a journey beyond anything humans had achieved. He thought of the outer worlds, of the collapsing star, of the beings preserved for centuries, and of the Scifi themselves. "I will stay," he said finally. "Humans survive, yes, but we also explore, learn, and teach. I want to see what we can do. Together." The Scifi's eyes glowed brighter, almost like a soft wave of approval. "Then you shall travel with us. You shall witness the galaxy, and your species shall leave its mark upon it. Together, we will preserve, learn, and grow." In the following days, Elias trained with the Scifi, learning to operate their advanced systems and teaching them human strategies of problem-solving. He showed them how improvisation, risk assessment, and teamwork could solve problems in ways pure technology could not. The Scifi, in turn, shared knowledge of energy manipulation, faster-than-light navigation, and techniques to preserve fragile life forms. For the first time in centuries, the Scifi were learning in a dynamic way, guided by a living mind. And for the first time, humans were proving themselves not just as survivors, but as partners capable of shaping the future of life in the galaxy. As the ship traveled through uncharted space, Elias often stood at the observation deck, watching stars stretch and fold, nebulae swirl in impossible colors, and planets shimmer with life. The universe was vast, dangerous, and beautiful, and he understood the fragility and brilliance of existence in ways he had never known. The Solari, who had once observed quietly, now conversed openly with him, sharing insights, asking questions, and listening to human perspectives. They whispered no longer with hunger or curiosity, but with awe and respect. A male, a mind unlike any other, a teacher and guide, a companion. Elias knew that humans had achieved something extraordinary. They had boarded the wrong ship by accident, yet in doing so they had earned trust, respect, and a place among beings older than history itself. He realized that courage, intelligence, and adaptability were more powerful than any technology, and that humanity's spirit could inspire even the most ancient minds. As the Solari ship continued its journey into the unknown, Elias felt a sense of purpose deeper than anything he had ever known. The galaxy was full of danger, yes, but also opportunity. And humans, through him, had proven that they could face it, adapt, survive, and shape the future of life itself. The stars stretched endlessly before him, a tapestry of possibilities. He smiled, knowing that the journey had only just begun. The wrong ship had led him to the right adventure, one that would define not only his life, but also the way humans were seen across the universe. Elias Dorn, a single human, had shown that courage, creativity, and the will to survive could bridge the gap between species, generations, and centuries. And in doing so, he had rewritten what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had almost forgotten the power of living, thinking minds. The Solari watched him with admiration, their whispers echoing softly through the corridors. A male who carries the spirit of life forward, humanity is worthy at last. Elias closed his eyes briefly, feeling the hum of the ship beneath him and the energy of countless worlds around him. He had boarded the wrong ship by accident, but he had found his true place among the stars. And humanity, small and fragile, had earned a footstep in the galaxy where intelligence, courage, and spirit were the greatest treasures of all. He smiled, ready for the journey ahead.